In the late 60s and early 70s, a lot of work that I did and other artists did was very concerned with something very fundamental to representation. When I first heard about the idea for the exhibition with me, Michael Craig-Martin, John Steziker and Jared Hemsworth, one word that came up was signs. And then the other word that was hovering around was this word picture. I think a lot of artists certainly of my generation, who opted to use photography, initially, for the most part, as a means of documenting something which otherwise would not have a continued existence. Now, for whatever reason, I opted from the beginning to be interested in the medium itself, largely through asking critical questions about it. And it turns into then a kind of critique of the medium, but also something celebratory. And often I've celebrated things that would otherwise be considered mistakes. Blurred images, out of focus images, upside down images, overexposed images, underexposed images. I've actually used that vocabulary. Well, Jacqueline Began is very much to do with editing. The question in my mind of whether a photograph is an adequate, a complete representation of something, how a different reading can be imposed on a single image and text simply by deciding to edit it in different ways. The work is configured in such a way that when you crop both image and text together, they stand alone discreetly, those parts, as something which makes sense in their own right. And then when you see the three elements, you can understand they're actually fragments of a larger whole. I never just walk around the world with a camera without knowing what I'm going to photograph. I actually have a drawing or diagram, I have written notes and so on. So I have a very particular agenda. Petra turns to face her representations. It derives from a very simple question, which is, if an object has the same appearance from several different viewpoints, and you want to make an image of that object, where do you decide to position yourself? So from the back, what she's actually done is turned 4 times through 90 degrees. And I have simply followed behind her with my camera and lights and taken pictures from 4 positions. So that image is a quadruple exposure onto a single piece of film. And I've simply tried by eye to always locate her in the middle of the picture in the same place. Of course, she's not perfectly on top of herself, but I quite like the slight misalignments, because what it's doing is giving you information in the image itself about how it's made. And that goes right back to the very early work I made with photography, right from the end of the 60s, the beginning of the 70s. That history of production is actually incorporated in the image. But what she's doing is, as the title explains, is facing different kinds of representations of herself. Photography, film and video, painting and drawing, sculpture. You've got 4 means of representation that a contemporary artist might use. I think however much my work seems to have changed over a period of, let's say, about 40 years, you know, it's been driven through various kinds of developments. Nevertheless, there are some fundamental characteristics which I think are quite consistent. A conceptual scheme and a technical scheme. I think those features, for me, have carried all the way through. So even if the imagery might be quite wide-ranging, inside there is something very analytical. So I'm interested in photography's physical features and chemical features and optical features and so on. Everything which is particular to the medium